I was sleeping between 5 to 6 hours through medical school. I was sleep deprived, but that never demotivated me from my fitness goals. It actually did the opposite. I trained harder, dieted harder, and even cardioed harder. If I'm honest, my results were lackluster. The moment I got on summer break, doing the exact same thing, with my full 8 hours of sleep, my body would respond efficiently to my fat loss goals. This made me pay attention to the science of sleep and its relation to building muscle and losing fat. Over the past year, I've been lucky to work with fellow doctors, surgeons, businessmen, and women. One thing they all had in common was sleeping 5 to 6 hours, and this was one of our main focus points in our recomposition. 16 weeks later, they'd be shocked at how much fat they could lose in that time. But before we dive in, a lot of research and editing goes into making a video like this. Just do me one favor, if you wouldn't mind, gently hit the like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. And if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're new. Let's kick it off. Hi, welcome to my nighttime routine. I'll be showing you guys everything I do to prime my body to get the best quality of sleep, which will also help with my overall fat loss and building muscle at the same time. So the last thing I do is check up on clients. Once that's done, no more work. That's a hard rule of mine and I shut it down completely. If you guys are curious what time I go to bed, normally it's at 10 o'clock, it's 10:15. And the first thing I do is I prime my brain for sleep. How do I do this? I reduce my blue light exposure. So I will be switching off all the lights in the apartment to signal to my brain that, hey, we're getting ready for sleep. And I'll show you guys exactly how I do that.
Where were you when destiny called? Open up the sky, I'm bringing it on. Everything's changing, ring the alarm. When the smoke clears, I'll be in my final.
Awesome. The last meal I have before I go to bed is actually a shake from HP Labs. And a lot of people have this myth that if you eat before you go to bed, it's going to turn into fat. That is a myth. Actually, your body's actually going to use the nutrients to help with the recovery while you're in bed. So actually having a protein source before bed is amazing. Another thing I wanted to add is I make sure with any caffeine source, the last caffeine I consume is noon because I'm in bed by midday. This way I know that there's minimal, if not no amount of caffeine in my bloodstream when I go to bed. And it actually really helps. I've noticed that when I have caffeine at 3 p.m. for example, I can feel it and it's hard for me to go to bed. If not, I go to bed much later. But I'll leave it here and I'll show you guys the next step with what helps going to bed. Sleep is the golden chain that ties health in our bodies. Welcome to episode 5 of the Recomposition series. 2 weeks ago, I weighed in at 186.6 pounds and my weight stayed the same the following week. Today, weighing in at 184.6. Over the past 2 weeks, I've lost 2 pounds in weight. I mention this to show you that it's okay to have a week with no change and not to panic. Stay consistent and stay the course. If I'm honest, I'm at the stage where I'm starting to feel hungry on my diet and I've made adjustments to my diet which has helped tremendously, like switching my wraps for zucchini noodles. This increase in volume has helped with my diet adherence and hence the 2-pound drop this week. Awesome, we're in the final stretches of finally getting into bed, and as you can hear, I am slightly slurring my words because I'm ready to sleep. So number one, the last phase is I get into a shower with lukewarm water, nothing to raise my core body temperature. But on that note, I like setting my aircon on at 18 degrees Celsius, that's 65 degrees Fahrenheit. The National Sleep Foundation says that many people in a poll have said that they prefer sleeping at colder temperature. It helps their body signal sleep. So I turn that on, now I get into bed. And the next thing I do, and the final thing, or almost the final thing, is the last primer for me to get into bed is reading a book. So I'll read a few pages of the current book. I'm going through the Book of Power. Let me know if you guys have read this one. I'm going to read a few pages of this and I'm going to share with you the final tip and probably the most important one, and I'll jump into a science voiceover talking about it. Every day, your body stores fat when you eat and burns fat when it runs out of food energy. Visually, it looks something like this. The green area represents lipogenesis, the metabolic formation of fat, occurring in response to a meal. The blue area represents lipolysis, the breakdown of fats, occurring in response to fasting between meals and during sleep. Let's dive into the science of how sleep impacts your fat loss. A 2018 study by Wang and colleagues published in the Journal of Sleep split subjects into two groups. For 8 weeks, two groups were on a caloric restricted diet. Group 1, the control group, slept normal hours, and Group 2, who slept 60 minutes less for 5 nights and slept as much as they like for the rest of the week. The results were staggering. Both groups lost equal amounts of weight due to the caloric restriction. But what was lost exactly is the interesting part. The group that slept normal hours lost approximately 83% of that as fat, and in completely inverse proportion, the group that slept 1 hour less per day lost 85% of muscle mass. Subjects sleeping normally lost most of their weight as fat, while subjects sleeping poorly lost most of their weight as lean mass. And all of this was just from 1 hour of sleep less per night for 5 days per week. I am ready to sleep. So, what I do before I go to bed, I read a few pages of a book. I'm reading currently Power, incredible. And I also had a pill of melatonin, which has really helped me. We'll dive into the science of that. To understand how blue light affects sleep, we need to understand circadian rhythm. According to the NCI, circadian rhythm is the natural cycle of physical, mental, and behavioral changes that the body goes through in a 24-hour cycle. Circadian rhythms are most likely affected by light and darkness and are controlled by a small area in the middle of the brain. They can affect sleep, body temperature, hormones, appetite, and other body functions. Abnormal circadian rhythms may be linked to obesity, diabetes, depression, bipolar disorder, seasonal affective disorder, and sleep disorders such as insomnia. Circadian rhythm is sometimes called the body's clock. From a 2018 systemic review, further analysis of these 15 reports indicated that a 2-hour exposure to blue light in the evening suppresses melatonin, the maximum melatonin suppressing effect being achieved at the shortest wavelengths. We know that melatonin is a hormone that your brain produces in response to darkness. It helps with the timing of your circadian rhythm and with sleep. Being exposed to light at night can block melatonin production. Research suggests that melatonin plays other important roles in the body beyond sleep. My recommendation is avoid using phones or anything that's backlit, like your computer or your TV, at least 2 hours prior to going to bed. I also like dimming all the lights at home 2 hours before as my routine to signal my body I'm going to bed soon and consequently reduce my blue light exposure. The workaround for those who have to look at their screen before going to bed is using a blue light blocker glass. But that's what I'm doing. I don't even need the melatonin at this stage just because my body's actually accustomed to going to bed at this hour. I'm gonna leave the video here. If you guys did enjoy the video, if you appreciated it, hopefully this helps you somehow establishing your own routine. Hit the video with a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, comment down below which one was your favorite part, and I will be picking 2 winners for the gift cards of $100 each, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Good night. Peace.